Party games these days are a dime a dozen, whether it's because of the large marketing investment that publishers put into these games or the large view counts that YouTubers usually get for covering them. It seems like every month we have a new best party game ever, or the Codenames Killer is finally here. And at this point, all of these videos have left me feeling a bit dismissive in general, like, I think I'm being sold to, or, tell me again if you're playing this game still in a couple of months. But this dismissive jadedness towards some new games have left me paying a bit more attention to games that have been doing it for a while. Games like the party game we're covering today, called Cat and Chocolate, a game that is as common to find in board game cafes and school classrooms as it is on people's home shelves. And today we are going to be exploring why this game has been a constant bestseller since it first came out over a decade ago. Minasan konnichiwa, welcome to the Board Game Dojo's Import or Not series, where we take a look at games from Asia and let you know if they're worth your hard-earned money to import or not. Today we are doing our first video in celebration of reaching 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. Thank you so much for getting us there. We are super appreciative of that. And now to say thank you, for each video in the next month, we are going to hide away in each video that we do of what you can comment down below in each of those videos in order to be entered into our 1,000 subscriber giveaway. Each video that you comment on will be worth a separate entry, so be sure to watch all of the videos that we're doing for the next month. But let's get it started with Cat and Chocolate, a game that I have been playing for years, and now I think I've started figuring out why it has been a bestseller for over a decade. Occam's razor tells us that the simplest explanation is often the right one, and the same can actually be said of party games. Oftentimes, the ones with the simplest explanations are often the right choice to start a game night. And this is something that Cat and Chocolate beautifully exemplifies by the fact that it can be taken off the shelf, set up, taught, and you're off and playing in around a minute. In fact, let's try this out now. You'll open the box and quickly divide the cards into 3 decks, one being the item cards, one being the event cards, and one being the team cards. Then each player will draw 3 item cards off the top of the deck that they can look at, and they'll draw 1 team card that they are not allowed to look at until the end of the game, and the game is ready to begin. On your turn, you'll draw an event card off the top of the deck, and that's the problem that you need to solve. This one being that the wedding cake looks like it's about to topple over. And the next card on top of the event deck will have a number on it, and that is how many item cards you will need to use from your hand in order to solve a problem. After you're done, everybody will give you a vote. A thumbs up, that means you did a good job, or a thumbs down, meaning you did a bad job. If a majority gave you a thumbs up, you get a point. If a majority gave you thumbs down, then you do not get a point. This will keep going until the end game card is drawn, and then the game is immediately over, and everybody will reveal what team they were on, both to themselves and everybody else, and then they will add up their points. Whichever team got the most amount of points wins. That's how you play. Now you might be thinking, Eric, that seems very open to interpretation. What is a good job and what is a bad job? And to that I say, yeah, exactly. It almost is kind of the point. Because while the simplicity is a big selling point, the even bigger one is its adaptability. You see, Cat and Chocolate is not so much a game as it is a game system, a skeleton of a rule set that allows you to adapt the rules to whatever is going to suit your group. The most obvious one is the one that I just talked about. What is a good job and what is a bad job? And this allows each group to decide how strict they want to play the game or how easygoing they want it to be. When I was teaching English as a second language, this just meant, did your story actually make sense in English? And if it did, well then good job. But different groups will have different interpretations of this based on who is actually playing. If you're playing with people who are a bit uncomfortable with these kind of games or are nervous about messing up, you can be a little bit nicer. But after you've started playing the game a few times, maybe you can be a bit stricter as to whether it's actually plausible or not. And this is actually the rules that are inside the rulebook itself. For example, in our earlier example where the wedding cake looks like it's about to topple over, well, maybe I know that the wedding topper is actually made of metal, so I take my magnet that I just so happen to have in my pocket, I sneak up behind the table that has the wedding cake on it, and I use the magnet to make sure that the wedding cake is just a little bit more upright. Do you think that that is a plausible explanation? Would you vote me thumbs up or thumbs down for that one? Put it down in the comments for today's 1,000 subscriber giveaway. But this is just one of the many ways that I've seen people adapt the game's rules and the game system to suit their group's needs. needs. For example, my group, we played with 5 cards instead of 3 cards in our hand because we like to see more of the cards, and it also gives us more options. Another very common way of playing this game is just to forego the points altogether, because the fun in the game is actually just in the funny situations and funny stories that people can come up with, and not really in the points that come in at the end of the game anyway. And the final way of adapting it to your group's taste is to choose the cat and chocolate theme that is interesting to you. We have the festivals one and the everyday problems one, and these have different items and different events to use. And inside each of these boxes that cost somewhere between $7 and $12 retail price, again a nice low barrier to entry alongside the approachable rules, you get a nice little deck of cards about yay big. Now this can be played in 2 ways. One in which you can just play with this small-ish deck and you get the fun that you often have with monikers, which is seeing the same cards over and over again so that it creates little inside jokes. For example, if you draw the cat and somebody uses it as an actual cat burglar, you are absolutely going to be able to play it like that in future games. But the other way that I actually see much more commonly is that people buy 2 of these boxes like we did and they just combine the decks, meaning that you are going to have a very funny mashup of item cards trying to solve problems that you wouldn't normally think they would. For example, maybe you have to solve the runaway bride problem from the festivals deck, and the best thing you can come up with is to distract people using your company's latest PowerPoint presentation from the business deck. And this is doable thanks to the low price point because, again, to buy both of these, you're probably talking about $15 retail. But while praising this for being simple and adaptable, and this is probably why it has been such a bestseller, I think as many people that might be interested in this game for those very reasons are actually going to look at this game and go, this is absolutely not for me. And for this part, I'm going to go over that way and stand against that barren wall because it's time to get critical. One of the most common things we say on this channel is that for many games, the things that are features for some people are absolute bugs for others. And this game is no different. Even though we just praised it for its simplicity and its adaptability that is open to interpretation so that your group can play it the way they want to play it, well, for others, that openness is exactly the thing that they detest about this game. Not since I've played Captain Sonar have I played a party game or party adjacent game that requires the consistent level of buy-in from every single person at the table, both in terms of the energy level needed to play the game, but also in the rules interpretation. If 1 or 2 people are being strict while everybody else is being nice, or vice versa, the game just breaks. And this can quite often happen because, as you can imagine, a lot of people are not going to like this game and just want it to be done as soon as possible. And that's because it includes some things that people absolutely hate in games. One of this is that you are being put on the spot. And because of the luck of the draw and the fact that this game puts you in a situation in which you are just given a lot of bad choices, you are going to be put in a situation in which you are going to have to try to be creative, and if that's just not your thing, or it's not your thing of trying to convince other people why your really bad solution is actually a really smart one, then you're not going to like this one. And that ties in with the second thing, which is the evaluation portion of this. Especially when you're playing with families and friends, it can feel kind of bad when everybody around the table tells you that you did a bad job. And yes, it can be silly as you are coming up with funny stories and everybody's just kind of struggling to try to formulate some way of saving the wedding or some way of trying to get to school when the bus breaks down and all you have is a piece of cake and a dog. But as fun as it can be to hear these kind of kooky solution stories, or you try to not take it personally when somebody said, yeah, that solution is absolutely not going to work, it does feel bad when everybody flips over their team cards at the end and you do hear one of your closest family and friends say, whew, I am glad I was not on their team. And that's something that this game is not going to fix. If there is something that you've heard in this video that you think is not going to work for your group, you are probably right. Although there has been the weird phenomenon that is this game in which it has been inconsistent as to who has liked this game. There's been people that we've introduced this to that we thought would love the game and they have in turn hated it. And there have been people that we thought might be lukewarm on it and they have gone out and bought a copy while we were playing the game. And it's because of this kind of no gray area in which people either really really like it or really, really not like it, that if we were actually going to give a numerical value to it of how we feel, it would probably only land at a 6 or a 6.5, even though we have this appreciation for all that it does, and we can absolutely understand why it has been a bestseller for so long. While it is really nice that it is simple and adaptable for people, there are so many people that are going to really dislike those aspects of the game. The performative nature of it, the evaluation nature of it, and just the fact that you are consistently being put in a situation in which there is no good answer for this. It can make a game that is supposed to be funny, it's supposed to be a nice time, it can make it a very, very stressful situation if anybody in your group or you yourself are just in a sour mood that day. I guess that can be true of any game, but this game is especially susceptible to it. And so as we close out our video, the final verdict for this one is that it is an add-on. That is our category. That means that it's not worth importing just for itself, but if you already have a cart of items that you're already thinking of ordering, yeah, sure, throw it in the cart if you think that this might be something that is worth it for your group. I do think that the low price point allows you to take that chance, especially as they're redoing it and making it a little bit nicer and updating it with new items that we actually have nowadays instead of the original 2010 version that has tons of things that we don't use anymore. But as we say that, there are just a couple of notes to mention. One is that the business one that you see is in both English and Japanese. Everything else is only in Japanese. Now, usually the cards, except for the festival ones, are really easy to read with Google Lens, so it shouldn't be a problem. But the other thing about the cards to note is that some of them are a bit inappropriate, so you probably want to look through these cards if you're thinking of playing them with kids, because yeah, there's some pretty sexual things in some of those cards. But saying that, I know that it's been a while since we made a video, so hopefully you enjoy this one as we make our way back and getting right back into the swing of things and making videos and getting back into our podcasts as well. If you enjoyed the video and want to talk about more games, hey, join our Discord channel. We have lots of people that are here that really enjoy getting these games from Asia. You can subscribe for more great videos, and I'll put a link somewhere here for our favorite party game that we do think everybody should play. I promise you, I'm not selling you something. Well, thank you so much for watching. Arigatou gozaimashita. Until next time, じゃあね